She'd much rather be at home. I remember her coming into the kitchen and we'd be having dinner and she'd be going out to some fancy party. She said, well, I would give anything to eat in the kitchen with you boys and go to bed early. She was a wonderful cook. And actually she used colors to sort of, when we didn't know enough about, or we didn't know a lot about food groups and what to eat with what, she always would say, well, eating a plate full of white isn't very interesting and therefore can't be very good for you either. And so she'd always, you know, we'd get vegetables and a bit of everything. And no, she was a very healthy cook, a very delicate cook. She could eat us both under the table. I think it's a combination of things. She had a wonderful figure because she was hungry and still danced throughout the war. She always had an active life. She walked everywhere. So that's how she got her exercise. But I think mostly, you know, it's the formative years that count. I see a lot of my mother and my children. Funny things that they do that they could never even have heard of, that I guess are in the genes, and there's a lot there. I'm sorry in a way that she didn't get to meet her grandchildren, yet in a funny way, in a sort of mysterious way, maybe there's more of her in them in a spiritual sense, because she went away and maybe a little bit came back. I don't know. Being a parent is almost an impossible thing now that I have my own children. You want to, you love them to death, yet you don't want to smother them. You want to encourage them, but you don't want to make them overly secure. You can never protect them from life. But I think the secret is to keep the compassion alive. And basically, as I heard Steven Spielberg's mother say one day, you just love him a lot and then get out of the way. She believed that there is nothing more important than a child and its future. And that is the reason why she took the work for UNICEF so seriously, and she was so touched and so thankful that she could do it. My mother got involved with UNICEF because her cousin was a part of organizing a big charity fundraiser event. There was a concert, and she was asked to say a few words, and the executive director of UNICEF at the time, Jim Grant, was in the audience, and I guess he just watched her speaking up there and realized that she would make a wonderful ambassador and offered her the job right there and then that night, and $1 a year.
This was an actress taking on a new role, Audrey Hepburn, the ambassador, and seeing for herself some of the worst affected areas of Ethiopia. One of the greatest Hollywood film stars was travelling unusually, not to be seen, but so she could see others. Audrey Hepburn has a special relationship with UNICEF. As a teenager living in occupied Holland after the war, she received aid from the fund. Now she saw other children being given help.
I don't believe that there is anyone who can be quite prepared, even a nurse who's worked in a hospital and watched people die. When you actually, you can even watch on TV, when you're actually there in a camp with 35,000 people, somewhat close to death in one way or another, she always spoke of this incredible silence. These people do not want to be trapped in this hand-to-mouth nightmare. They want the opportunity to help themselves. We created the memorial fund at UNICEF, which is now grown up to this sort of global level joint venture, which is called All Children in School, and subsequently the Audrey Hepburn Children's Fund, to continue her work because she was taken away so soon. And I know if she had the opportunity to, if she had another 5 minutes here, after hugging us all and making sure we're okay, she would talk about the children. And it's in that spirit that we founded the foundation. We created the foundation to continue with our tiny footsteps and her larger-than-life footprints, her work, and also to honor all this affection and all the people who were sort of left shocked by her early disappearance. We found out she was ill in November. She was operated. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with her, and she was an investigative operation, which then turned out to be a full-fledged operation. When they found out that she had colon cancer, at that point there was nothing more that conventional medicine could do, so we went home and had an extraordinary Christmas. It was her best Christmas, and she said that. And she was, I think she knew then, hopefully, how much we loved her and how much we cared for her. And that's all that mattered to her. And roughly 2.5 months after, well, 2 months and 20 days after we found out she was ill, she passed away. The day of the funeral, there were over 25,000 people lining the streets, which is a lot for a small village like this, and it was all very sober and very quiet and very moving.
But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to fall,
very often people ask me, well, what was she really like? And I think that what you saw on the screen was exactly the way she was in real life. And I think that the work she did at the end of her life for the children and for UNICEF was a wonderful confirmation to everyone. It wasn't just important on face value because she was doing it, but it was also a wonderful confirmation that the twig that everybody had fallen in love with years before had grown up into this beautiful oak tree. And towards the end of her life, she was, as a result of having been a single mom for most of her life and having to provide with the family and a lot of pressure and some disappointments, and this work for UNICEF and what she saw our society doing to our future generations, whether knowingly or unknowingly, I think she became serious and grave at times. But that same person was still there, the sweetness and the gentleness and the softness, yet the strength. She was very much like what you saw on the screen.
Moon river whiter than a mile, I'm crossing you in style someday.
Billy Wilder came up with this wonderful expression when he was asked, which was, she was kissed on the cheek, God kissed her on the cheek, and there she was. And there's no more, it's true, there was something blessed about her whole persona. My relationship with my mother was, I realized today, quite an extraordinary one. I took it for granted in the sense that she wasn't just my mom, she was my best friend. And I thought that that was sort of normal. And as I grew up, I realized that it was a great gift that we both had. It doesn't happen always that your parent is also your best friend.
Waiting round the bend.